And we're live.
Hey, so as promised, we have come back after everything has passed, so we can go ahead and see that the tests on AppVeyor took about 3 minutes to run, and we can see the whole reason we made this jump is that the tests did pass on Travis. However, they took 28 minutes, which is a bit long to make you sit through. So we come back. Again, the changes are here. Tests have all passed. All that's left now is for a code review, which I think I will hand off to Bill.
Hey, and so now what we can see is on my desktop, I have the same pull request pulled up. I can see all of Mike's changes. Let's see, let's make this text just a little bit smaller so you can see a tiny bit more here. To do the code review, I can verify we have tests covering the change right here. We have all of the redirection. Everything that I expect to be here is present with nothing that I don't. So we can review the changes, approved, and make sure that we are merging into the correct branch from the correct branch. Just kind of a last minute check there. We only have the one commit, so I don't need to squash anything. And we can merge the pull request. Nice. So with that done, now I can go over to my copy of VS Code. I'm already open to the correct folder. I have service is open. All of my files are right here. I'm just going to hide that for the moment, though, and let's do a fetch. So get fetch all. What we're going to see is that I should be a little bit behind. Here we go. So now I'm a couple of commits behind master. So let's pull those. And just to make sure that I'm in sync, I can push to origin master, which is my fork of the repository. Upstream is the Puppet Labs fork. Right, and now let's take a look at the history just real quick. What we see is here's Mike's changes here. Here's where I merged the changes in. I haven't pruned that out. Here is when we look back at the pull requests, we can see, let's go back to the pull requests. So this pull request here, this is still present and all of his changes are still there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this as a remote.
So just to point out, this step that Bill is doing right now is what I relied on the GitHub extension in VS Code to do. So this is the manual way to add a additional remote and then presumably change branches to it.
Now, when we look at this pull request, we will see that the changes are coming from a branch on his remote called APH modules 9979, all of that business. So when I look in my history, I should see that here it is. There's that right there. So I'm going to check this branch out. So let's do git checkout B. He's got a few branches in here, but that's the one that I want right there. And yeah, so let's check that out. And because of the other merge that we just did, master is actually has all of Mike's changes in it. So I'm going to do a git rebase on top of master. And let's take a look at the status here. All right. when we diff to master, oh, you know what I didn't do? I actually messed this up a little bit. Let's check out master git. I have to delete that branch. And I'll tell you why in just a second. So I'm going to delete that branch. Let's go back to my checkout command.
Or
Sure.
are you going to leave this in? Okay. I would clear screen and then do over.
Yeah. So when we look at the history, we will see that modular's changes are here, and master is way up here. Now, master, because of the merge that we just did, contains all of the changes that we saw in Mike's pull request, which is some of the changes that are in this branch right here, but not all of them. So this branch right here, as it stands, right at that commit, contains all of those things plus a few changes. So I'm going to check out that branch. So I'm going to do git checkout, and I'm just going to call it APH. Actually, that's not what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it maint, and we're going to call it fix case statement. And it's going to be based on modular. There it is, empty status. There we go. And now if I diff it against master, what I see is I see these changes right here. So this is all of the stuff that was in the original. Including stuff that I don't need. So now what I can do is I can do git rebase interactive against master. I don't need this one. I do want this one. I don't need you. And I don't need you. And just to review, I don't need this one because this is going to be a part of a different pull request and merge. I do want this one because it contains all of the changes that I'm going to have in my pull request. I don't need this because that was squished down. It was squashed down as a part of Mike's test, Mike's pull request, as was this one. So this is the only commit that contains changes that I'm actually going to want to have in a pull request.
You may actually want to fix up the third commit. Because it introduces a change otherwise. So
Really?
you drop TPs, keep the second one, because the third one reverts a change that it introduces. So this one you may actually end up with a diff. But we'll see.
This is the diff that doesn't need to be there. Where did this one come from? Oh, this is in there, but I don't want it. This didn't happen last time. Why not? You're muted somehow? Yeah, you muted yourself.
Did you do a fix-up last time?
I don't know.
This could be a good opportunity to show what a git commit amend looks like, though.
Yeah. Let me start again. This is where my head is at, though. Git reset. What was it?
You could also do git checkout master hard, git checkout block.
Okay. Oh, I see what you mean. The fix up on this one.
Yep. So you drop, pick, fix up, drop.
Yeah, drop, pick, fix up stuff. Yeah. Okay. Start over again. Okay. Where were we?
Checking out the history.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about how the cut is going to happen. Okay, so now that the merge is done, I can go to my own copy of Visual Studio and we can take a look at the history. And what we see is that these are Mike's changes. This is where I merged the PR. And down here is still where Modular's changes are. Now, Modular's branch is still here. And this is one of the cool things about Git is that all of his changes are still in place. They still exist on his remote in his branch. All that we've done is we've been copying things to our own branches and doing all of our changes, all of our edits have been non-destructive to his code. Everything that he's done is still there. So what I want to do, though, is I want to make a new branch that I'm going to have with my own name. I'm going to have all of his changes, and I'm going to only apply the things that I want out of his changes that have not already been applied by Mike and his PR. And so in just a second, we'll see exactly how to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new branch. I'm going to call it maint. We're going to call it fix case statement. And it's going to be based on Modular's branch. It's going to be checked out at the same place that his is at. Right? And now I'm going to rebase it interactively on top of master. Now, this change, just to review, this change is going to be a part of a different pull request, so we don't need it here. We can drop it. This one I do want. This is going to contain all of the changes that I do want to have in my pull request. This one, we're going to call it a fix-up. It does have a change that I want to be in the final code. I just don't need it as a separate commit. It's going to be as a part of that other thing up there. And this change has already been made as a part of Mike's pull request. So I can do a fix-up on this as well, I think.
Either a drop or a fix-up will work there.
Right.
When you do the rebase, it'll go away.
So here we are. And now what we can do is we can diff this against master. And this is my only change right here. This case statement rejiggering is the only thing that we see. And we can see it a little bit better in here. We can compare head with master. And we have one file changed, and this is the change right here. So we can see pretty clearly exactly what we're about to change. So when we go back to the command line, I can push this, but I'm not going to push it to the branch that it's based on. I'm going to push this up to my own remote. So I'm going to push this up to origin maint. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to put a little -u on here to make sure that I'm tracking it, that it's going to be in the right place. There we go. And now I can go ahead and it says create a pull request for this on GitHub by visiting this link. Well, let's go ahead and visit that link. Here we are. Now, what I didn't do, which I should do, when I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to amend my pull request commit message. So what we're going to do is we're going to do git commit amend. What we see here is this is the commit message that we're about to commit into the history. We're going to change this to maint fix case statement logic. Now, previously, Mike had kept this paragraph because it worked really well for the changes that he was making. It works less well for what I'm doing because those changes are already in place. But we can say this change breaks out service and initctl on statements, fixes a couple starter stop, right? So that seems good. I do also need to put the co-author statements. Let's see, co-authored by. And we will get modulars information. I have another window just out of view here. Where I'm getting his email address. And I think in this case that might have been, let's look at his commits here quick. I do have Cass as an author on here as well. So we will grab his information. So we can have this. We'll grab his email address. Like that. And I think that's going to be okay for this commit message. Right? Now what you'll see is I've made a new commit, which means that my commit as far as Git is concerned, my local branch, I'm one behind the remote, but I'm also one ahead of remote. And all that means is that the remote has a commit that I don't have locally, but I also have a commit locally that does not exist in the remote. And in this case, that doesn't indicate a problem. It just means that whatever the last commit was, I just redid it. And so it has a different commit number. There's a mismatch there that causes that. And so in order to get this to push properly, I'm going to need to do this. Git push force origin like that.
It's worth noting at this point that you should almost never, ever do a git push force against master.
Right, that is worth noting. So I've pushed this against, when I did the force against origin, right? I know very specifically that origin corresponds to my fork right there. I would never do this against upstream, which corresponds to the Puppet Labs, or if your personal workflow, if origin is the master repository, if that's the source of truth that everybody looks at, then you would not force push there either. You would make sure that when you do a force push that you're pushing it to your personal fork. You don't want to do force pushes against the canonical fork. So here we have Puppet Labs service. GitHub is kind enough and convenient enough to tell me that I have just pushed some changes and I need to compare and pull request. We see that my pull request title is correct and that my message is correct and that I have the correct the correct co-authors. We see that I have a single commit with some co-authors and that my change is what I expect it to be. I only have the one file changing. So I can create the pull request. Now, just like last time, we're going to have another set of automated tests that are going to run. And also, just like last time, we're not going to make you sit and watch all of them run. So we're going to take just a quick break. And when we come back, we can watch the pull request merge. So see you guys in a second, or see everybody in a second.